In the last video we talked about integers and how they can be used to store whole number values, but I thought I'd start a sort of I thought I'd make a few videos just on the different data types in C, because it's something that you should definitely know and it will really help when we get into more advanced topics. So in this video we're going to focus on the float and double data type. Now, I mentioned in the last video integers can only store whole numbers, but there's another way to store decimal numbers, and the way you store decimal numbers is by using floats and doubles. So a float is short for floating point number, and it approximates a number, and it's not exactly accurate. But it's not exactly accurate float, but it can store decimal numbers. So, for example, if I stored a float called A, and I made, in fact, let's go for our old naming convention, num1 equals 5.323. Now, this seems okay, but we've actually got a little issue here, because if we run this code, that's fine, but it's not really. We don't typically use this. What we do if we have a float value, because this is a double here, as you can see, it's a double, and as you can see, it's not exactly accurate. It's got these 426 at the end, which I never put in, but doubles, this is how you'd make a double. So if I made a double, which is just like a floating point number, then that works perfectly. However, a float, you need to put an F at the end. So now it's a float, as you can see. And as you can see, it's also a little bit less accurate this time. So yeah, that's how you make floats. Just remember you can put a number afterwards, but put an F at the end. Doubles are a lot easier. For example, we can type in that, and we don't have to put the F there. You can also use capital F here. It's up to you which one you use. I like to use lowercase f because I typically use lowercases in programming. But it's completely up to you what you use. So, as you can see now, this works perfectly. Now, which one should you use? Probably double. Because double, unless you're really low in storage. So basically, let me explain this quickly. A float is an 8-bit number. Sorry, what am I talking about? A float is a 4-bit number, and a double is an 8-bit number. On most systems, or sometimes you might have a 16-bit number for a double, but typically it's 8-bit. It's 8 bytes. What am I talking about? 8 bytes. A 32-bit floats are typically 32 bits or 4 bytes, yeah, and doubles are typically 64 bits or 8 bytes, sorry. So, unless you're really low on storage, you should probably use a double. Because doubles use up twice as much storage, but they are a lot more accurate they are a lot more accurate than a float. Whereas a float uses half the storage, but it's a lot less accurate than double. So I'm going to be using doubles in my programming, but it's up to you which one you use. If you're making a very low level program, you might want to use a float, because you might need you might have very low memory, but it's probably a best idea to use double wherever you can.